We are going to die. Trapped. The SEAL team begged for help until a grass phantom sniper appeared. Christmas snow fell thick, like a white curtain over the Afghan valley. SEAL Team Omega walked into a trap in the narrow mountain pass. Bullets bounced off the stones. Red flares lit up the sky. Through the crackling radio came desperate screams. We are going to die. We are all going to die. There was no way to go back. There was no help from planes. All hope was fading. Then the ground and a patch of grass on the mountain side moved just a little bit. A person covered in dry leaves, perfectly hidden, slowly came out. They did not know yet. The grass phantom sniper had arrived. Captain Sarah Morrison checked her watch. It was 9:47 at night on December 24th. The temperature had dropped to minus 30 degrees Celsius. Snow was falling harder than any weather report had said it would. Shah Tura Pass stretched in front of them like a rough wound cutting through the Hindu Kush Mountains. Command Omega 6, Morrison spoke into her headset. We are 2 kilometers from the target building. The weather is worse than we were told. We can only see about 50 meters ahead. Static crackled back. Copy Omega 6. Our information says a package is inside. We think there are about 12 Taliban fighters. Get in and get out by 2 in the morning. The package. That is what they called Dr. Lawrence Bennett. He was a CIA worker who was an expert in listening to secret communications. He had been captured 72 hours ago while looking into a new communication system the Taliban had set up. The leaders wanted him back before he talked or before they killed him. Sergeant Daniel Foster moved up beside Morrison. His breath made little clouds in the freezing air. Ma'am, this does not feel right. The drone lost its signal 20 minutes ago. That is the 3rd time our equipment has failed today. I know, Morrison replied. She looked at the ridge through her night vision goggles. Everything looked green and grainy, but we cannot leave Bennett out here. Not on Christmas Eve. Lieutenant Christopher Hayes was their communication expert. He forced a laugh. Captain, if we finish this fast, maybe we can get back in time for turkey at the mess hall. The team had 8 soldiers in total. They moved in a line through the deep snow. Each person carried 60 pounds of gear. They had rifles, bullets, medical supplies, and explosives for breaking down doors. Their boots crunched softly even though they were trained to be quiet. The snow was too thick to move without making noise. Corporal Brandon Sullivan was the youngest. He was only 23 years old. He kept looking around nervously. This was his first time in a real battle. The others noticed but said nothing. Everyone remembered their first mission. Omega 6, this is Overwatch. A voice crackled. We are seeing strange heat signals on the ridge above you. We see more than one source. We think you should stop and wait. Morrison raised her fist. The team stopped moving. Overwatch, can you tell us how many and where they are? More static. Then nothing. Overwatch, do you copy? Silence. Foster moved beside her again. Our radios are getting worse. The storm is messing with everything. Morrison thought about what to do. They were 30 minutes away from where they needed to go. Going back meant leaving Bennett for another day. And another day might mean a video showing his death. Going forward meant walking into danger they could not see. We continue, Morrison decided. But stay close together and keep your weapons ready. The valley got narrower as they moved forward. Steep walls rose on both sides. They were pushed into a natural path that was barely 50 meters wide. This was the kind of place every soldier was scared of. This was the kind of place that could become a killing zone. Hayes checked his radio again. Ma'am, I cannot reach anyone. Not command, not air support, not even our backup team. Nothing. Keep trying, Morrison ordered. But a cold feeling was growing in her stomach. This was not the weather causing problems. This was jamming. Professional jamming. They were still 400 meters from the target building when Sullivan spoke up. Captain, I see movement. 3 o'clock, up high. Morrison swung her rifle toward the ridge. For a moment, she saw nothing. Then the night exploded with light. Red flares shot into the sky from both sides of the valley. The snowstorm turned into a red nightmare. The beautiful Christmas snow became a scary curtain lit up by enemy fire. Contact. Contact. Right. The first burst of machine gun fire came from the eastern ridge, a heavy gun that sounded like a jackhammer tearing through metal. Bullets kicked up snow and broke rocks all around them. "Find cover," Morrison shouted. But there was nowhere to go. They were in the open. The enemy was on the high ground above them. A rocket flew over their heads and hit the ground 50 meters behind them. The blast knocked Sullivan to the ground. "We are surrounded," Foster yelled. "There are many positions. I count at least 3 machine gun nests." Morrison's mind raced through her options. They could not run uphill through the bullets. They could not go back. More guns had started shooting behind them, blocking their escape. They could not call for help from planes or big guns because their radios were not working. They were trapped. Omega 6 to any station. "We are under heavy fire in Shadra Pass. We need help right now. We have people who are hurt." Only static answered. Another rocket hit closer this time. Pieces of metal flew through the air. Specialist Marcus Thompson grabbed his leg and screamed. "Medic," someone shouted. The team pressed into whatever they could hide behind. Rocks, shallow holes in the ground, even dead trees. But it was not enough. The enemy had planned this trap carefully. Every angle was covered. Every hiding spot was already targeted. Morrison's trained mind looked at their situation. The enemy had set up a perfect L-shaped trap. The killing zone was about 80 meters long. At least 3 machine guns were shooting at them from different angles. The rocket teams were ready to stop them from running forward or backward. Whoever had planned this understood military tactics better than most enemy leaders she had ever seen. She realized something terrible. They had been tricked into coming here on purpose. Dr. Bennett was bait. The radio problems were not because of weather. Their information had been wrong from the start. They were meant to die here. The thought became clear in her mind. Someone had given them false information to get them into this valley at this exact time. The weather report had been changed to make them think they would be able to see better. The deadline had been moved up to rush their planning. Even the Christmas Eve timing was planned. Fewer soldiers were available. There was less help at command centers during the holiday. It was a smart and cruel plan. The Taliban had picked the perfect place to fight. Morrison could see it now. Everything about the land worked against them. The valley walls pushed them into a narrow area. The snow on the ground made it impossible to hide. The storm stopped planes from helping. Even picking Christmas was on purpose. They knew American forces would have fewer people working during the holiday. "Count off," Morrison ordered between bursts of gunfire. 1, okay. 2, okay. 3, hit but can move. 4, okay. All 8 were still alive. But that could change in seconds. The amount of gunfire was getting worse. Morrison could hear at least 4 different machine gun positions now, plus many rifles. She guessed there were 30 to 40 enemy fighters. Maybe more. Foster crawled on his belly to Morrison's spot behind a rock. The rock was barely big enough to cover them both. "Ma'am, we need to move. They are going to come around from the north." "Where do you think we should move to, Sergeant?" Morrison's voice was bitter. "We are in a box. They have the high ground on 3 sides. An explosion ripped through their area. Dirt and snow rained down. When Morrison looked up, she saw Lieutenant Hayes holding his arm. Blood was coming through his fingers. "Shrapnel," Hayes gasped. "I am okay. I am okay." He was not okay. None of them were okay. Sullivan, the young soldier, was shooting back with his rifle, but Morrison could see his hands were shaking. The kid was about to panic. Another rocket came in. This one hit the rock right in front of Specialist Gregory Warren. The blast lifted him off his feet and threw him to the ground. He did not get up. "Warren is down. Warren is down." Specialist Andrew Peterson crawled to Warren and checked for a heartbeat. After a moment that felt like forever, he looked back and shook his head. They had lost 1 person. The truth of their situation hit Morrison like a weight on her chest. 1 dead, 2 hurt, surrounded, outgunned, no help coming. They had maybe 10 minutes before the enemy rushed their position to finish them off. "Ma'am," Foster shouted over the gunfire, "we need to do something." But what? What could they do? Morrison's training told her to act, to lead, to find an answer. But every military rule she had ever learned told her the same thing. They were in an impossible spot. Sullivan's voice cracked over the radio. "We are going to die. We are all going to die." "Shut up," Morrison snapped. But she understood the fear. She felt it too, try and take over her mind. Then something changed. The machine gun on the eastern ridge, the one that had been shooting at them for the last 3 minutes, suddenly went quiet. Morrison's brain noticed right away. One threat was gone. But how? A malfunction? That was not likely in the middle of a planned attack. Equipment breaking? These were well-kept weapons, not junk. Before she could figure it out, another sound reached her ears. A single sharp crack from somewhere up the mountain. Not close, but clear. The sound of a powerful rifle. Not a regular rifle, but a sniper rifle. The sound traveled differently through the mountains. It was a deeper, more careful sound that told of aimed shots and deadly purpose. Morrison had heard enough sniper fire in her time to know what this was. Someone was taking careful shots from a high spot. But who? There were no friendly soldiers in this area. Their backup team was 40 kilometers away. The closest American base was even farther. A second machine gun position went quiet. Same pattern. The sudden stop of shooting, followed seconds later by that faraway crack. What the hell? Foster breathed beside her. His eyes searched the mountain for any sign of their mystery helper. Morrison spoke into her radio, trying different channels. "All stations, stop shooting. Someone else is attacking the enemy positions." The SEAL team stopped firing. They saved their bullets and watched in amazement as one by one, the enemy guns went silent. Each time, that same faraway crack came first. Morrison counted the shots. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each shot meant another enemy gunner killed. The accuracy was unbelievable. No missed shots. No wasted bullets. Every trigger pull ended in a kill. "Unknown friendly," Morrison said on all channels. "This is SEAL Team Omega. Tell us who you are." Static. Then a voice. Female. Calm. Almost without emotion. "Omega 6, this is Phantom. Stay hidden. I am clearing the path to your north. You will have a chance in about 4 minutes to move to the target building." Morrison and Foster looked at each other. "Who is Phantom?" Foster whispered. "I do not know, but she is saving our lives," Morrison replied. She spoke into the radio again. "Phantom, we have 1 person dead and 2 hurt. Can you keep watching over us?" "Affirmative. I count 36 enemies in your area. 19 are down. I am working on the rest. When I give the signal, move fast to the building at heading 090. You will have cover." The calm in that voice was strange. 19 down. Morrison had not even seen where most of the enemies were hiding. Another shot. Another enemy gun went silent. "Ma'am," Hayes said. His hurt arm was now wrapped up by Peterson. "Whoever this is, she is hitting targets I cannot even see with our equipment." Morrison watched the hillside where the shots seemed to be coming from. Nothing. No flash from a gun. No movement. Whoever Phantom was, she knew how to stay completely hidden. 3 more shots came fast. Then Phantom's voice came back. "Omega 6, you are clear. Move now. Heading 090. 100 meters to the building. Go." You heard her. "Foster, go first. Peterson, help carry Warren's body. Sullivan, Hayes, watch our backs. Move, move, move." The team ran from their hiding spots. They pushed through snow that seemed to want to slow them down. Morrison expected the remaining Taliban fighters to shoot them, but shot after shot from their mystery guardian kept enemy heads down. They made it to the building. It was a mud brick house that had probably belonged to a local person before the war. They broke down the door. Inside, they found Dr. Bennett tied to a chair. He was beaten but alive. "Who are you people?" Bennett gasped. "Your ride home," Morrison said. She cut the ropes holding him. "Hayes, see if you can get any radios working from inside this building." "On it, ma'am." Outside, the shooting had stopped. A strange silence fell over the valley. Only the wind and falling snow made any sound. Morrison spoke into her radio. "Phantom, we have the package. What is your status?" All immediate threats are gone. But you have a problem. The Taliban will send more fighters. You need to get out in the next 20 minutes. Our radios are being jammed, Morrison explained. I know. I am tracking the jamming device. It is moving 300 meters northwest of where you are. I am sending you the location now. Morrison's radio beeped with incoming information. You want us to attack the jamming vehicle? Either that or wait here until 50 more Taliban show up. Your choice, Captain. Morrison looked at her team. 1 dead, 2 hurt, tired, low on bullets. But Phantom was right. They had to move. Foster, take Sullivan and Peterson. Hit that vehicle. Hayes and I will protect Bennett and get ready for pickup. Ma'am, we should... That is an order, Sergeant. Go. The 3 men disappeared into the snow. Minutes went by. Morrison heard gunfire in the distance, then an explosion. Her radio crackled. Target destroyed, Foster reported. Heading back to your spot. Phantom, Morrison called. Can you tell us if more enemies are coming? 2 vehicles coming from the south. You have 12 minutes before they get there. I will shoot at them, but you need to move to the pickup point. Sending the location now. Another message came through. The pickup point was a clearing 2 kilometers west, up a steep hillside. Hard ground to cover, but they could do it. Hayes suddenly looked up from his radio. Ma'am, I have a signal. Command can hear us. Finally, Morrison grabbed the radio. Command, this is Omega 6. We have the package. We need a helicopter right now at these coordinates. I am sending them now. We are in a heavy fight. 1 dead, 2 hurt. Copy Omega 6. Helicopters are starting up. They will be there in 12 minutes. 12 minutes. The same time Phantom said they had before more enemies arrived. Everyone, we are moving to the pickup spot. Foster, Sullivan, Peterson, come back to us. We are going west. The team came back together and started the hard climb up the hillside. Bennett could barely walk. They were carrying Warren's body. Every step was painful in the deep snow. Behind them, Morrison heard the crack of Phantom's rifle. She was shooting at the Taliban coming to help. That woman was buying them time with every shot. Phantom, Morrison called over the radio. You need to get out too. Get to the landing spot. Negative. I do not do pickups. Just keep moving, Captain. You are almost safe. Damn it, Phantom. We are not leaving you out here. A pause. Then almost like she was smiling. Captain, I was never here. Now be quiet and run. The helicopter, a Chinook with soldiers at the doors with guns, appeared over the ridge. It came down toward the clearing. It was the most beautiful sound Morrison had ever heard. The team loaded Warren's body first. Then they helped Bennett get on. The hurt soldiers climbed in next. Morrison stood at the helicopter's ramp. She looked back toward the valley where Phantom was still providing cover. She spoke into her radio one last time. Phantom, if you're listening, thank you. You saved our lives. If you ever need anything, contact me. I am sending you my personal radio frequency. Silence. Then Merry Christmas, Captain. Now get out of here. The Chinook lifted off and turned sharply away from the valley. Morrison watched the ground below, tried to see any sign of their guardian angel. Nothing. Just snow and rocks and shadows. Whoever Phantom was, she had vanished like smoke. 2 days later, at Bagram Airfield, Morrison sat in a special meeting room. With her were Colonel Patricia Vaughn, Dr. Lawrence Bennett, and several intelligence officers. The room was one of the most secret places on the base. The walls were lined with special metal to stop anyone from listening in with electronic devices. Armed guards stood outside. There were no windows. Whatever they were about to talk about was top secret. Captain Morrison, the colonel began. Your report talks about a person calling herself Phantom who helped with sniper support. We need every detail about this contact. Morrison told them everything about the fight. She did not leave out a single detail. She talked about the perfect shooting, the calm voice on the radio, and impossible accuracy. She described how Phantom had taken apart the ambush piece by piece. She killed threats in an order that showed not just skill, but genius battle planning. The timing, the choice of targets, the way she had made a path for their escape. It all showed someone who understood fighting at a level beyond normal special forces training. One of the intelligence officers was a man named David Patterson. He took notes on a secret laptop. He worked for the CIA, Morrison had learned. He was part of their special activities group. He was the kind of person who knew about missions that officially never happened. Patterson leaned forward when she finished. Captain, in your expert opinion, how many targets did this person kill? Based on what I saw and what went quiet, at least 20, maybe more. And she did it in under 10 minutes. Morrison stopped, remembering how the enemy positions had gone silent one by one. But it was not just a number. It was the accuracy. I have worked with some of the best snipers in our military. What Phantom did was beyond anything I have ever seen. She was hitting targets at distances that should have been impossible in those conditions. Snow was falling. The wind was blowing. She could barely see anything. None of it seemed to affect how well she shot. Patterson and the colonel looked at each other in a way that told Morrison something. They knew more than they were telling. What? Morrison demanded. Do you know who she is? The colonel sighed. This is not the first time we have run into Phantom. Over the last 3 years, there have been 16 times when American forces under heavy fire got unexpected sniper help from an unknown friendly. The pattern is always the same. Long-distance accurate shooting. Talking over military radio channels. Then completely disappearing before anyone can pick her up. 16 times? Morrison was shocked. And you do not know who it is? We have ideas, Patterson said. Some think it is a CIA soldier working secretly. Others believe it might be a private soldier who went off on her own. Some people even guess it could be soldiers from another country helping U.S. troops without permission. Or, the colonel added, she is someone with so much experience and so much skill that she works at a level beyond normal special forces. She operates in ways we cannot even understand. Foster had been allowed into this meeting. He asked the obvious question. So, why do we not recruit her? If she is that good, we want her on our team officially. We have tried, Bennett said. After every time she helps, we try to contact her. We send messages on radio channels we know she listens to. We leave signs at pickup points. Nothing works. She does not want to be found. The colonel pulled up a picture. It was old and dated 3 years earlier. It showed a woman in full combat gear. Her face was partly hidden. This is the only photo we have that might be her. It was taken in Iraq in 2022. Staff Sergeant Rebecca Hartley. She was in force reconnaissance. She was one of the best snipers in the entire military. She had 217 confirmed enemy kills. Morrison studied the photo. The woman's eyes were visible. They were hard, focused, and haunted. What happened to her? Morrison asked. Officially, she was killed in action in Syria in 2022. Her team was overrun by enemies. No body was ever found. But unofficially, the colonel said, some of us think she survived. We think she has been working alone ever since. She takes on missions no one told her to do. She helps American forces when she finds them in trouble. Why would she do that? Foster asked. If she survived, why not come back? No one had an answer. Morrison looked at the photo again. If that was a woman who had saved them, she was a ghost in more than one way. Officially dead. Working outside all chains of command. Alone in the most dangerous places in the world. What do you want from me? Morrison asked. We want you to write a full report. The colonel said. Every detail you can remember. What she said on the radio. How she moved. Her battle plans. Anything that might help us understand her better. And if we do find her, then we bring her home. The colonel said firmly. No one should be out there alone. Not even a ghost. 15 kilometers from Bagram, in a cave system known only to locals and goat herders, Rebecca Hartley cleaned her rifle. She used the light from a small chemical heat lamp. The SR-25 rifle had worked perfectly as always. She had fired 1,600 rounds through the barrel, and it still shot straight. She had lost count of how many days she had been in Afghanistan this time. 60? 80? Time became blurry when you lived alone in the mountains. She survived on hidden supplies and whatever she could take from abandoned Taliban spots. The cave was one of 7 hiding places she kept across the area. Each one had food, bullets, medical supplies, and equipment. Each was carefully hidden and set with traps in case anyone found it. Each one took months of planning to set up. This was her life now. Move, hide, watch, wait. Find important targets. Wait for the perfect moment. Strike, disappear, do it all over again. She had never meant for this to be forever. After her team was killed in Syria, after she had fought her way out alone and made it to a safe house, the plan had been to go back to base. She wanted to rejoin the fight officially. But somewhere during those days hiding in Syrian villages, watching American forces move through the area, she realized something. She could do more good alone, without the paperwork, without the rules about when she could shoot, without the limits that came with being part of a team. She could take shots no one else would allow. She could hunt targets that official people would not care about. She could help in ways that did not fit on any mission plan. The choice had not been easy. For weeks after escaping Syria, she thought hard about it. Part of her wanted to go home. She wanted to see her parents. She wanted to sleep in a real bed. She wanted to be part of something official again. But another part of her, the part shaped by years of fighting, by watching good people die because of slow paperwork and political problems, that part knew she could save more lives by staying dead. So she made the choice. She walked away from her old life completely. She used her training to disappear and become a ghost. She hid equipment across many countries. She set up supply networks with helpful locals. She learned to survive on nothing. She became a phantom in the truest sense, present but invisible, helping without being seen, killing without being caught. So she stayed dead. She let them have the memorial service. She let her family grieve and collect the death money. She became a ghost because ghosts could go anywhere and do anything. Ghosts could kill the people who needed killing without worrying about rules or political problems. The radio, still set to the channel SEAL Team Omega had been using, crackled with noise. They were safe at Bagram now. They were being questioned and getting medical care. Good. Hartley let herself feel a small moment of happiness. 16 saves now, counting last night. 16 times she had found American forces in trouble and helped them. 83 enemy fighters killed across those times. 0 friendly soldiers died while she was watching over them. It was a good record, but it came at a cost. 3 years without talking to her parents. 3 years without human contact beyond short radio calls. 3 years of eating alone, sleeping alone, fighting alone. She was 37 years old and felt 60. Her back hurt all the time from holding still for hours. Her hands had lasting nerve damage from the cold. Her hearing was getting worse from thousands of shots fired without ear protection. The loneliness was harder than the physical pain. Humans were not meant to live like this. Completely alone, without touch, without conversation, without connection. She talked to herself sometimes. She had full conversations in her head with people who were not there. She knew it was a sign of being alone too long. She knew her mental health was slowly getting worse. But what choice did she have? Go back to normal life and face questions about where she had been? Risk being found and brought back into the system? The moment she went back to official places, she would lose the freedom to work her way. She would be questioned and tested. She would probably be put at a desk job or sent home for medical reasons. And while she sat in an office doing paperwork, Americans would die in the mountains. They would die because the sniper who could have saved them was filling out forms. No, this was her path now. She would walk it until her body failed, or until her mind broke, or until an enemy bullet finally found her. It was a lonely way to live, but it was the only way she knew to keep making a difference. She was wearing out. Eventually, her body would fail her at an important moment, and that would be the end. But until then, she had work to do. Hartley's original target, Rashid Ahmadi, had escaped last night. That bothered her more than she wanted to admit. But the SEAL team had needed help. Saving 8 Americans was worth letting one target get away. She would find Ahmadi again eventually. Men like that developed patterns. They got comfortable. And when they did, Hartley would be waiting. A noise came from outside the cave. Hartley's hand moved her pistol right away. But then she recognized the sound. It was a mountain goat. It was probably looking for shelter from the cold. She relaxed. Then she smiled at herself. Even out here, being overly careful was always with her. It was useful carefulness, the kind that kept you alive. But it was also tiring. Hartley pulled out a small photo from her pack. It was the only personal thing she carried. It showed her with her Force Recon team. 5 people grinning at the camera after a successful mission. All dead now except her. Williams, Jackson, Parker, and Martinez. Brothers and sisters in arms. Merry Christmas. Guys, Hartley whispered the photo. Saved 8 more of ours last night. I think you will be proud. The chemical lamp was burning down. Hartley turned it off and sat in complete darkness. She listened to the wind howl outside. Tomorrow she would move to another hiding spot. Maybe she would scout the area where a Mahdi was likely to show up again. Maybe she would just watch and gather information. Or maybe she would hear another desperate call for help on the radio. And everything would change again. That was the thing about being a ghost. You could not plan. You just moved through the world, helping when you could, vanishing when you had to, always alone. Hartley lay back on her sleeping mat and closed her eyes. Sleep came hard these days. Her dreams were filled with the people she had killed and the people she had saved. But sleep came eventually. It always did. Outside, the Christmas sun rose over Afghanistan. It lit up mountains that had seen 1,000 years of war and would see 1,000 more. Somewhere in those mountains, a ghost slept and waited. 6 months later, a different valley, a different battle. Army Rangers were trapped by enemy fire. They were taking losses and running low on bullets. Their radio operator sent out a desperate call for help. He did not expect anyone to answer. They were 40 kilometers from the closest American base. The land was so dangerous that even helicopter support was risky. The ambush had caught them completely by surprise. What was supposed to be a normal patrol had turned into a nightmare. Enemies had started a complex attack with mortars, machine guns, and rockets. 3 Rangers were hurt. 2 were hurt very badly. They had been fighting for 90 minutes. Their bullets were running dangerously low. The lieutenant was a young officer named Timothy Bradford. He was figuring out how much longer they could hold out. 10 minutes? 15? After that, they would be down to pistols and knives. He was getting ready to give the order for a last-stand fight when the impossible happened. A single shot rang out from somewhere in the hills. The enemy machine gun that had been pinning them down went silent. The Rangers looked at each other with confusion and hope. The lieutenant grabbed the radio. His hands were shaking from excitement and desperate hope. Unknown friendly, identify yourself. A short pause, then a voice came through. It was scratchy with static, but clearly calm and professional. Phantom, stay low. I have got you covered. The Rangers had heard the stories. Most thought they were just made up. The ghost sniper who appeared when American forces were in trouble. She would kill enemies with impossible accuracy. Then she would vanish without a trace. Bar stories. People said, legends made up by soldiers who wanted to believe someone was watching over them. But as precise shots started taking out enemy positions one by one, they realized the legends were true. Each shot was followed by the silence of another weapon. Bradford watched in amazement as his terrible situation turned manageable in just 3 minutes. Somewhere in those hills, the ghost was watching over them. Bradford made a mental note to never doubt a bar story again. 800 kilometers away at Bagram Airfield, Captain Sarah Morrison heard about the fight through unofficial sources. She smiled and raised her coffee cup in a silent toast. She had been following the rumors since her own experience. Every few weeks, another story would come through information channels. A patrol saved from an ambush. A convoy protected from a bomb attack. A forward base that got mysterious sniper help during a Taliban attack. Always the same pattern. Always that calm voice on the radio. Phantom. Morrison had written her report as asked. She had written down every detail she could remember, but she had also added a personal note to Colonel Vaughn, one that would not go in any official file. If you ever do find her, tell her we are grateful. Tell her she is not alone. Even if she thinks she is, tell her we remember. "Merry Christmas, Phantom," Morrison said quietly to the empty office. Wherever you are, the ghost in the grass continued her never-ending mission. She moved through the shadows of mountains and valleys. She was a lonely guardian who had chosen to stay dead so she could keep others alive. Some heroes wear uniforms and receive medals. Others wear special camouflage suits and haunt the battlefield. They help the living while staying among the dead. Rebecca Hartley was the second kind.